Welcome to Nationalist Hub News Analysis. What's the broken rice export ban all about? On 8th of September, that's just about 4-5 days ago, the Department of Revenue, Government of India notified the imposition of 20% duty on exports of rice other than parboiled and basmati rice with effect from the next day, that's the 9th of September. That would have covered all raw, non-basmati rice shipments, whether full or broken grains. On the same night, another notification from the Directorate General of Foreign Trade imposed a blanket ban on only broken rice exports. Now let's look at the details. There are 4 categories of rice exports from the country. Out of these, exports in the case of 2, basmati rice and parboiled non-basmati rice are still freely allowed. The curbs are only for the other 2, that is raw white and broken non-basmati rice. Does it sound Greek and Latin to you? Let me explain. There was a lot of hue and cry following the notification that there has been a concerted campaign by a section of the media, particularly from Telangana, and politicians on the issue of the export of broken rice. One of the allegations made by the opposition is that the union government is preventing the farmers from earning more by taking benefits of the higher international prices. Proponents of this move includes Haryana Congress leader Bhupinder Hooda, who alleged that farmers are not being able to take advantage of the increase in international grain prices. On the other hand, TRS working president K.T. Ramarao, who has an opinion for everything under the sun, accused the Modi government of not having any long-term plan for the country's food needs. Both these politicians seem to have absolutely no idea about broken rice and what it is used for. It is a misconception that farmers would have earned more due to higher international prices. Farmers, in fact, had already sold their crop of the paddy at MSP, which is the minimum selling price, and they are not getting any additional benefit from higher export prices. As traders and exporters have already brought paddy, they benefit from the higher prices by selling it in the international market, not the farmers. This rampant profiteering is what has been banned now. Irony is that the farm bills, which was scrapped due to agitation by the so-called farmers, backed by politicians who are opposed to Modi, could have actually made this all possible in this scenario. Now let us look at the other part of it. The union government has clarified that the export of broken rice has been banned due to the control of rising prices in the country, as domestic industries are dependent on broken rice were badly hit. Let's look at what government curbs on exporting rice mean for India and the world. The ban announced will affect just under half of India's rice exports in terms of quantity, over a third by value. Where does India export rice to? Let's look at those details too. More than 75% of the basmati export last year went to Iran and the Arabian Peninsula countries. US, UK, Canada, and Australia added up to another 10%. Let's take case of non-basmati rice. Almost 55% went to African countries, and another 9.5% each was accounted by the top 2 individual buyers, China and Bangladesh, followed by Benin and Nepal at 8 to 9% each. Parboiled rice is mainly exported to Africa and Bangladesh. Rice, for example, is derived from the milling of paddy, as we all know, and produced by the farmers. Paddy typically has about 20 to 21% husk and 10 to 11% bran. What remains after the removal of the husk and the bran is a white raw rice that we consume. That constitutes 68 to 69% of the paddy. The milled rice in turn has both whole and broken grains, because during the processing some things break. In raw rice, the brokens are normally up to 25%. It's an acceptable form. It's a rice having 100% brokens whose exports have been prohibited now. Out of the total 3.89 million tons of broken rice exports in 21-22, 1.59 million tons went to China, followed by Senegal at 0.92 million tons, Vietnam at 0.34 million tons, Djibouti at 0.24, and Indonesia at 0.21 were the major countries. And this is what has been banned now. So China is a country getting impacted the maximum, which is why you see our country's politicians getting worked up, because China is getting impacted. Now let's look at how much would all of this impact the country's overall rice exports. Our country in April 2021 to March 22 shipped out a record 21.21 million tons of rice valued at $9.66 billion. That included 3.95 million tons of basmati rice worth about something like $3.54 billion, of which there are no restrictions now, and 17.26 million tons of non-basmati shipments valued at $6.12 billion. Within this, 7.43 million tons comprised of parboiled rice exports, which will be also allowed freely now. The restrictions apply only in respect to the balance 9.83 million tons. This covers, for example, 3.89 million tons of broken rice, whose exports have been prohibited, and 5.94 million tons of non-parboiled, non-basmati rice, whose shipments will henceforth attract a 20% duty. In simple English, the curbs announced will affect just under half of India's rice exports in terms of quantity and over a third by value. India's rice exports will not take a hit according to leading rice traders. White rice with 5% brokens from India is currently being shipped out of India at about something like $340 per ton, as against $380 from Pakistan, $395 from Vietnam, and $430 per ton from Thailand. A 20% tax isn't going to render the Indian rice uncompetitive, say traders. Moreover, it's a well-known fact that not so small portion of India's rice exports are diverted from the rice provided illegally under the public distribution scheme, that is what we call the ration shops. The pilferage from the ration shops is a major problem. The ban on the shipments of broken rice is a part of the larger crackdown by the union government to curb the ration shop mafia. This decision has been taken as our country has to serve its own people before serving others. The policy has been changed to ensure availability of broken rice for consumption by domestic poultry industry and for other animal feedstock, and to produce ethanol for successful implementation of the ethanol blending program. So 100% broken rice has nothing to do with it. Nobody consumes it in a large sense of the word, but it's used for industrial and feeding purposes. So Mr. KTR and Mr. Bhupender Hooda need to go back and chew their homework. There has been a rise in global demand for broken rice due to the geopolitical scenario following the Russia-Ukraine war, which has impacted the price movement of commodities, including those related to animal feed. During the period April to August 2022, the export of broken rice increased by 4,178% as compared to the corresponding period in 2019. From financial year 2018-19 to financial year 21-22, the export of total broken rice increased by 319%. The export of broken rice has increased by more than 43 times in the past 4 years, from 0.41 lakh metric tons in the same period in 2018-19 to 21.31 lakh metric tons exported from April to August of 2022. During April to August 2022, the export share of broken rice increased from 22.78% as compared to just about 1.34% during the corresponding period of 2019. Due to an increase in global demand, the domestic price of broken rice, which was around 16 rupees a kilo in the open market, has increased to about 22 rupees a kilo in many states because of this exports. The poultry sector, which consumes the maximum of this, and animal husbandry farmers who also consume broken rice for their animals, were impacted most due to the price hike of feed ingredients, as about 60 to 65% of the input cost of poultry feed comes from broken rice. It's not human consumption, it is fed to the poultry, the chicken. The surge in prices of feedstock will lead to an inflationary trend in poultry products like milk, egg, meat, among others, which will fuel food inflation. So what's more important is that we should control the food inflation. Apart from the use as feed, broken rice is also used to produce ethanol. An adequate availability of ethanol in the country is vital in the success of Modi government's ethanol blending program. As sugar-based feedstocks alone cannot meet requirements of the 1,100 crore liters of ethanol for 20% of ethanol blending by 2025, the Indian government has allowed the production of grain-based ethanol. Government has also allowed the Food Corporation of India to sell the rice to ethanol plants for fuel ethanol production. However, in the current ethanol season of 21-22, as against the contracted quantity of 36 crore litres, only about 16.36 crore litres till 21st August 2022 have been supplied by distilleries due to low availability of what? Broken rice for ethanol production. So this is where the problem arises. Moreover, some countries which have never imported broken rice from India have started to buy it. And why would they buy it? It is to sell it in the international market and exploit the market situation at the cost of the Indian consumers. Why should we allow it? It is due to these reasons that the export of broken rice has been banned and a 20% duty on the export of non-basmati rice has been imposed. Instead of understanding the issues involved, politicians like Bhupinder Hooda and K.T. Ramarao and some farmer leaders who are ideologically opposed to the BJP-led government have started a campaign with an idea to create panic among farmers and traders. We have shown in this report how there will be no impact of the ban as 100% broken rice is used for poultry, animal feed and ethanol production. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind.
Please subscribe to Nationalist Hub English channel for more interesting videos and don't forget to like and share this video. Nationalist Hub, it's a news revolution.